Together with American songwriter, my brother-in-law, Sean Olbs of the Eiffels, was able to talk to Wilmette over Zoom audio. Combining pop-punk with hardcore, Wilmette formed in a basement in Sleepy Hollow, Illinois in the summer of 2018. Make sure to check out their self-titled EP. It is out now. And check out our Facebook page for some more interviews with other artists. Our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Bringing It Backwards, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. That'd be awesome at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Wilmette.
So tell me about Wilmette. I've been listening to the tunes, but don't know much about you guys. So how did you guys? Why don't we start with you? How'd you get into music?
I've always been kind of interested with music. For most of my life, I think I've been playing for about 13 years now, and I've always had family members who played instruments, primarily drums. I'm the first one to do guitar, but I mean that's pretty much it. I kind of just fell into that, and that was the first thing that kind of piqued my interest, and I sort of picked up.
Right. And how did you meet the rest of the guys? So
I knew, I had coworkers who knew them a few years ago, and then we just kind of ended up meeting. We did a few projects before Wilmette, and then it eventually formed Wilmette, actually without me at the time. And then later on, I eventually joined, and we were already all familiar with each other, so it went real smoothly.
Okay, so take us back, because I was actually it was tough to find info on you guys. So what does everyone do in the band?
So I play guitar, leads and rhythms. It really just depends. Currently, we have Brompton Jackson, who is the other guitarist. He's a recent join. He plays in another band called Action Adventure. So he's very new to the band. And then cool. Peyton plays bass, and he also does sort of the screaming vocals, and any other sort of lighter vocals on there. And then Aaron does the lead vocals, and Aiden, his brother, does drums.
Cool. So you are wielding the axe. So how old were you when you picked up the guitar?
I believe I was like 10 or 11.
Okay. And how did that come about? Did someone inspire you to pick up the guitar?
I think I kind of found a genre of music that I started to prefer, because before you're really into music, you kind of just you hear stuff and you enjoy it because it's music, but every so often you'll find a specific genre that you really like, and I kind of just wanted to make that. It interested me how they were doing it, and I guess specifically the sound of the guitar kind of drew me in more than the other stuff, and so that's when I kind of figured that's kind of what I want to do. Yeah.
So you were playing guitar around 10 years old, and what were you listening to back then?
Back then, I was probably listening to a lot of dad rock bands, like Breaking Benjamin and stuff like that. That's kind of rock metal kind of thing going on. And then also some early pop punk stuff like Green Day and Bowling for Soup and stuff like that at the time.
Right. So was that the type of music you started playing, or were you getting lessons and playing something else?
That was the stuff I was playing. I didn't really take any lessons. It was more I really like this. I want to know how to do it, and then I'd learn it. So just song to song that was me learning guitars, finding a new song I liked and trying to figure out how to make that or replicate that.
Right. So you're playing guitar, you're playing the music you like, and before Wilmette, were you in you were in some other projects? Did you find some friends at school and just say, let's start a band, or how did things progress for you?
I had friends who played instruments, and I would play instruments with them a lot, but it never really amounted to anything. I was in a band or two in high school that it didn't really amount to anything. We just kind of played shows. But it wasn't until Wilmette that we actually like started doing stuff with it. Cause we have Peyton who does the bass and the vocals. He writes a lot of it. And so he really like was good at pushing the project. And that's something that I really admired. And so him and I kind of wrote a majority of the stuff that we put out. And so kind of the two of us were really pushing it forward. And that's, I think, what separated it from just like the random bands that I would be in high school.
Right. You found your musical partner.
Yes.
So you said though that Wilmette started without you at first, though, even though you had been in other projects with those guys. So what happened there?
I just got busy, and
Yeah.
it was before Peyton, so we didn't really, try to like push ourselves and do anything substantial. And because of that, I kind of took a step back because I was pursuing like other stuff, like just audio engineering, and I was working a lot, and I just kind of like fell out. We didn't really establish anything. And then a few months later, they met with Peyton. They knew Peyton before, but they started something with Peyton, and he really pushed them and ended up being Wilmette. And then about a year later, they needed another guitarist. I joined, and then our old guitarist left. And so it was Peyton and I doing a lot of the writing for the last EP, and that's where we're at now.
Yeah. So you guys have had a few EPs now. The most recent one just came out. But tell me about the first couple ones first, because the music, especially the new record, I was listening to it. It's got like great production. Tell me a little bit about that. Did you guys get in the studio with someone in particular to record it, to help you take it to that level, or do you guys have some? Are you guys DIYing on the production end and just so happen to be great at it? Well, what's going on the production end?
So the first EP, I didn't really have any part in the first EP. They went to a local guy named John Terry. He does a lot of local bands. And then for the second EP, Anxious Body, we went to Seth Henderson in Indiana at Always Be Genius. He did bands like Knuckle Puck. He did the recent State Champs, like acoustic record and stuff like that. So we knew who he was, and we knew that his production was always going to be good. So we went there for that, and we just really liked the experience, and we went back there this time around as well. Yeah. So it's the same producer.
Got it. So yeah, I mean, you found a good producer. It sounds, like I said, it sounds great. So congrats on the great record. And so the newest record, like I said, it sounds great, and it looks like it's, it's, as far as your streaming and all that goes, it looks like it's your most popular thing going on right now with your guys' music. What, you want to tell us a little bit about what inspired some of those songs?
I think it was mainly just like stepping out of comfort zones and letting like other people's like opinion, like getting to know other people's opinions about it, and seeing things in a new light. Because the way that we write is I might have like a guitar part, and then I'll program some drums to it, and I'll have like a sort of vibe to it, but I don't know where to go with it. And so I'll send it to Peyton, and he'll come back with like a vocal melody and some random lyrics that he comes up with. And it kind of inspires the rest of the stuff. So I think the whole EP was really built upon just kind of stepping out of like my control and seeing what inspires me through Peyton and through the other guys, like actually hearing them play it. It kind of gives me inspiration to like step out of my comfort zone and do something that I might have not thought of at first.
Right. So just sounds like a real collaborative effort, because you're putting something forward and then seeing what they do with it. And then it sounds like you're taking it back and tweaking it or adding to it based on what they do.
Yeah, and we definitely thought a lot about the production going in, because we wanted to be very prepared going in this time around, so that Seth at ABG kind of knew what we were going for, and he was able to just finesse it. Which, yeah, he did an amazing job with that.
Yeah. So when you say really know what you want, did you really try to take the songs as far as you could before you brought it in there? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the songs were pretty much there before we went in. Seth just made it larger than life.
Right. So he didn't have to do much on the, as far as adding elements and everything, just amplifying what you guys already had.
Yeah, aside from a few things here and there that we purposely left blank because we kind of wanted an outside opinion on it.
Yeah.
It was pretty much all there. We kind of knew what we wanted going in.
When you guys are figuring things out, do you play, like when you're rehearsing and stuff, is there a lot of live jamming the songs before you go in, or is it more just writing, and then once you get the final mix done and everything, then you start actually jamming the songs?
Yeah, it's kind of like a band sin, but we pretty much have the songs like done and recorded before we even jam them together.
Right.
So
right. No, I mean, I think that happens a lot, and that's why I was curious about it, because I think you're right. I think it is better to jam them, but I think it does, because you'll find things that, like, you may say, hey, I wish we jammed these more, because then I realized there's this part that's for live performances that would have been great if we did this right here. But I think that happens so much nowadays. So that's why I was asking. So I don't think you're alone in that. And is there a reason? Is it just easier that way, or do you find that you're doing things during the production, and that's kind of completing the writing? Is that why?
I find it better because it's easier, and you're able to get your point across. Like if you have an idea, instead of like immediately putting it into someone else's hands, like if you're jamming with a drummer or something, they might take it completely different. Right. And I find it good to like maybe program some sample drums in there to kind of get the idea across before the drummer can actually play it, just so that they can hear your idea first before it turns into something completely different. And also in the recording world, you can kind of tweak your stuff beforehand, and you can kind of make things better than like you actually are, and then kind of aspire to actually play it.
Sure. That's a great way of putting it.
And so like you end up a better musician in the end because of it, as opposing to just like holding yourself back because you can't do it in the moment.
Right.
And so that was also a huge thing.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And as you mentioned, to get your point across, it's somewhat almost like a salesman a little bit too, because you have to convince them that it's cool enough to put it in there. So you got to kind of, you have to kind of sell what your idea by doing a little low, a little minor production to show them the idea.
Yeah, it's much easier to convince somebody to do something by showing them rather than, trying to explain it to them and them not knowing what to do.
Right. Getting them stoked on the idea as well.
Right.
So you guys, you had went in with a great producer for, who's established in your genre. And did you guys have some plans to tour this year that have been delayed, or what was the plan this year, and how have those plans changed?
We at the time we only had a plan of touring, I believe, in the last summer. That got canceled. I wasn't sure if anything was confirmed for this fall, this winter. So it's not too much of a setback. It was actually pretty good timing for us because we got to focus on actually writing and recording the EP. Yeah. But no, other than like maybe like a month-long tour, like one of them or two maybe, no major cancellations.
Okay. So you're able to just kind of take advantage of the downtime and use that for writing, since you didn't have much outdoor activity planned anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So, you guys, you have a pretty decent following on streaming platforms already. What are some of the things you guys have done to kind of establish the following you have at this point?
Well, I think a huge part of it is signing with Mutant League. They've been very helpful with that. And then it's just putting stuff out there, like making what little we put out there good, and then just pushing it. And I think that's a huge part of it. And I mean, I got to give it to Peyton because I wasn't there for the beginning part. And so I joined right as we got signed. So whatever he was doing it well. So I don't know if that's in, Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever. I'm pretty sure there were some Facebook ads because I do remember seeing some Wilmette ads before I was in the band.
Yeah. You were right in the algorithm.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I know you've been in some minor projects, at least before this. What are some of the differences, I guess, you could say from now that you're on a label as far as promotion goes that you've seen? Because you said obviously that they're helping.
Yeah, honestly, there's no huge differences other than there's somebody like pushing your stuff and is actually helping you make it happen, which is very nice. They're not like demanding at all, like the horror stories you hear. It's mostly just like, we kind of have something that we want to put out and we make sure that we have the budget for it and it's all good. And then they'll push it and we just take the cut and it's all good. It's much better than not having a label. So I wouldn't say that if anything, it just gives you more motivation to keep putting stuff out as opposing to if you're doing it alone. So
right.
Not too big of a difference.
Right. You have someone who's expecting you to do something.
Yes.
Some expectations set there. So, well, I got to say, like I said, I've said it a few times, the new record sounds great. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
And so what, I know things are kind of up in the air for everybody right now, but assuming things get safe sometime in the next few months, you guys have some plans for 2021 or any plans left for 2020 as far as releasing music? Probably
late 2020 and early 2021. We are planning on doing some releases. We're pretty dead set on not doing another EP. It's probably some smaller stuff and then an album. So we're kind of in the planning for that. Probably a single and then some sort of like remixes or what have you for this last EP.
Cool.
But we're kind of like testing the waters with it currently.
Yeah. Is there a reason you don't want to do another EP?
Just because we already have 3, and if we feel that if we're going to do another big project, it might as well be a full LP. Right.
Well, we'll be stoked to hear it. And thanks so much for coming and talking to us. We're stoked to see what you guys got up next. We like to end the interviews just to ask, if you had one piece of advice for aspiring artists, what would it be?
It would be to just keep doing it and doing it for good reasons. That being that you like doing it, and to always keep your mind open to new ideas.